So we have an announcement. We had Joe on a founders meeting. Joe's going to be the resident peptide expert for Absolute moving forward. And essentially, we've been working with Joe now for several months. So we have an exciting announcement that I'm going to pass to him. But prior to that, is everybody that's kind of been following along understands that we're in a reactive strength, let's say, programming paradigm where the number one limiting constraint on athletes today is these reactive strength injuries. A lot of things are changing and changing quite quickly. One of those things that Joe has educated us on and continues to educate us on, not just the founders meeting, is peptides and peptides specifically for reactive strength. So what Joe has done for everyone here at Absolute is he's actually has programmed the peptides in conjugation with training, and so that we actually have our own complete reactive strength peptide stack. And at this point, I'm going to pass that over to you, Joe, and you can just kind of articulate.
Yep. Thank you, John. And we're really excited about this opportunity. So some of you may be familiar with peptides, some of you may not. Peptides essentially are signaling molecules, and there's a myriad of them in the body. The ones that we're introducing first are going to be BPC 157 and TB 500. We'll be making that available for Absolute members, so you can actually start purchasing and programming your peptides with what you're doing in the reactive strength model. And the whole goal of the introduction of peptides is to optimize, obviously, training outcomes with the inputs that you're already using with Absolute Strength. So what we're doing is we're marrying, if you want to say, the medical side with the training input side to get the fastest, most effective outcomes possible. What we're doing with these peptides is we are creating an environment within the joint space itself that's optimized for anabolic processes of connective tissue. And we're regulating the underlying biochemical, biomolecular processes that either inhibit or facilitate the healing and reparative processes. So we're just trying to give everybody another tool in their toolbox as you go through your reactive strength journey in rehab, so that we can create environments within the body itself to accelerate the response to what we're doing from a reactive strength model. And as you go through this peptide programming, the information we've given you will also explain what these peptides do, so you can correlate to the reactive strength programming you're doing and understand how the utilization of these peptides really complements not only the effectiveness of training, but accelerates the ultimate outcomes and goals.
Perfect.
And
Paul, do you want to go ahead and add to kind of the thing that you and Joe did in regards to the three different products, let's say?
Yeah, so so we've essentially created three separate products. Each of them all contain, as Joe mentioned, BPC 157 and TB 500. The first, let's say, is the starter pack. So this is essentially this would be after or following injury. You could potentially purchase this starter pack. It's the 1 month supply. It is 2 vials of BPC 157, 2 vials of TB 500, and then all the materials that you might need to complete this work. So this includes mixing syringes, insulin syringes, anything like that, anything you can think of essentially. So this is built out to be a one-stop shop for your reactive strength peptide stack. Second to that, we have the maintenance pack, which is months 2 and 3. So if you purchase the first month starter pack, you would then continue and move on to months 2 and 3. The protocol is slightly different, so the supplies are slightly different here. The dosing is slightly different that we've gotten from Joe. And then lastly, we have the complete reactive strength peptide stack. This is 90 days. So this is a complete start to finish, sort of all-encompassing stack. All the supplies come at one time. Again, the protocol is from day 1 all the way to day 90. Supplies again are slightly different. This would be the product that we would technically recommend over the other two, meaning we want you to complete 90 days is the recommendation from Joe. You also get you save roughly 10% by purchasing the complete package up front. When you when you purchase any of these products from us directly, on purchase, you'll get emailed the protocol itself. So this comes in the form of like a PDF document. It has all the information that you can need about BPC 157 and TB 500. It gives you the protocol. It also gives you some videos on how to actually mix your vials safely and effectively. And then it gives you a second video with how to properly and safely administer the peptide.
Yep.
Perfect. And
go ahead.
go for it.
No, I was going to say, and the reason that we designed the protocols as such is to complement where somebody's going to be at in regards to the reactive strength programming. It's designed initially in the first month when somebody's in more of an acute post-injury phase, right, where they've hopefully is acute to the onset of reactive strength injury as possible, right? And then it tapers as they continue to improve throughout programming. So just like programming evolves with your active strength model, programming needs to evolve with what you're doing with the peptides as well. So we help people transition through this process. Peptides are out there. They're kind of all over the place online. There's not a lot of good information on how to use them. And then there's even less information about how you use them in regards to programming them simultaneously for a specific outcome or goal. And that's one of the same things I've seen a lot in the States is they're kind of everywhere. You know, there's some good sources, there's a lot more bad sources, but people don't really have a lot of information on what to do with them. They're just like, hey, I heard this is good, right? But just like your inputs with reactive strength, anything you're doing from a programming perspective should have a goal or an outcome or an intent, not just like randomly poking yourself with needles because you heard it may be good for stuff, right? So this is actually putting science behind what you're using and how you're using these peptides in a synergistic manner with your training inputs. So this really ties the whole picture together. And to my knowledge, this is the first time anybody's really done that. The nice thing about the peptides as well is they are manufactured, tested, and sourced in the United States. So there are pharmaceutical grade peptides. They're higher quality. You don't have to worry about sourcing. You don't have to worry about solvent grading and concentrations that you may get with overseas processing and shipping companies. So it's a higher quality product. It's not sold on the large market. That is, you're never going to find us online. You know, we're not trying to be the biggest, we're trying to be the best in that regard. So this is something that really is only available to two groups of people, and that's absolute members and that's physicians, right? So those are the only two groups that we're actually manufacturing for right now. So it gives patients also an opportunity to get a higher quality product that they may not be able to find on the general marketplace.
Yeah, that's perfect. This is exciting. This is exciting. And I think it's good to emphasize too, everything comes in one package. So did you want to discuss that, Joe? Like if you buy these from other places, because we want the least amount of friction possible. So it's like I know Paul stated this, but you just kind of want to walk through like how they get everything that they need, not just like the PDFs that show the dosing protocols, but everything that they physically need.
Yeah, you get everything you need as well because you know you look at different online sites. Maybe you're buying your peptides from an online provider research company, and your backwater from there. Maybe you got to source needles from Amazon or something like that, or Tractor Supply, I guess. You know wherever you want to go to procure your injectable needs. There's also the question with a lot of patients not being familiar with how to dose and apply these peptides, where people don't need the volume that they don't know the volumes that they need. So this is laid out so that you have the exact amount of the product that you need, that you know how the ratios need to be dosed, that you have the supplies to facilitate, obviously mixing, dosing, administration, all of those things as well. So it really ties it all together for you. So you're not having to source from multiple places. You don't know how much you need to use. You don't need to know how many vials you need to use. That's all figured out for you to program in with your training. So just like the goal of absolute is to remove the question marks for your clientele, right? You want them to know what to do, how often to do it, the magnitude to do it, and progress them. This is the same idea, right? We don't want you sending all over the places to get different pieces, different bits and pieces kind of from all over the internet. So this is an all-in-one inclusive package where people won't need to go outside of what they get from Absolute to actually have this protocol completed.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then we will leave the links below so that people can have the links to those different products below this video. But I think that's it. Joe, did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
great.
perfect. Okay. Yeah, this is exciting. So We look forward to it.
Yeah. Just the
Just
processing of peptides and the things that you need to be wary of. So like, a lot of peptides are sourced overseas, but peptides are really small molecules, right? They're tiny, and most of them actually manufacturing revolves a solvent-based reduction process to get to its final form. And one of the things we've seen with some of these lesser quality peptides is the molecular form of the peptide may be correct, but there's solvent left in the product, right? And then somebody reconstitutes and injects it, and it has too much solvent in it from the manufacturing process, and then it'll potentiate immune response, right? So all of a sudden, the immune system attaches that negative response to the peptide, even though it has nothing to do with the peptide. So we've had patients in our office where they've bought, peptides, different stuff online and injected themselves, and like within 30 minutes, they're hivey and red and uncomfortable. And then for like the next 6 months, they can't use that peptide anymore because their immune system was so hyperreactive to it. So, the problem with it, and again, that's kind of I was alluding to kind of the same thing you see in kind of your different like black market anabolics, right? Where people are buying bulk powders from overseas of whatever product is that they manufacture at home. And the sterility and the processing and the testing just isn't there. And you get bad shots, you get bad injections, and you get negative responses to stuff. Obviously, that's not widely true of everything, right? There's some fine, research companies out there, but at least the people we have manufacturing this are that are actually lead that company are a trained licensed pharmacist and biochemist, right? So the people actually, everything's actually processed under the same standards that like compounding would be done under, and like basically what you like your large scale pharma manufacturing standards are. So it's all stuff I've given my wife and my kids and myself and things like that. So we've tried all this product on ourselves first, but
that's perfect.
yeah, but that's where you're not going to run into the complications you may get with you don't know where a lot of that stuff's being manufactured, or